It's it's a bit dark in our meeting room.
Yes. So should I turn somewhere where that light?
Okay, wait, I'll let Narima know. Okay.
Janita, how many people now registered or in?
We have about 90 plus registered, but logged in now it's about 36.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I think we'd have to start in about a few minutes. Can't wait.
Right. Your call. Your call. You are the master ceremony today.
Better now?
Yes. It's better.
Shall we start?
All right. Good.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, good morning to everyone. It's nice to see familiar faces or familiar names at least. And to new participants, thank you for joining us. So this is our third episode of our GreenRE's Sustainability webinar series. And the title of our episode is Towards a Low Carbon Real Estate Industry. The reason why we thought that it would be a good topic is, well, if you look up any Paris Agreement or Malaysia's sustainability goals, one of the justifications for the real estate industry being involved in the low carbon movement is because, well, the building sector has one of the highest carbon footprints in among all the industries available. It's currently, it contributes 30% of the global annual GHG emissions, and it consumes about 40% of the world's energy. So thus, commitments made in Paris means avoiding 77% in total CO2 emissions in the building sector by 2050 compared to today's levels. At the same time, the sector's mitigation potential is huge. So it is it's a collaborative effort by various sectors, hence why it's important where the real estate industry is aware of the government's policy and the direction that we're heading towards so that we can be prepared for all the amendments that we would have to make with our policies and our SOPs. Okay, so before I start, I'd just like to give the newcomers a short brief on who we are, GreenRE, which stands for Green Real Estate. We are one of Malaysia's leading green building certification bodies, and we were set up by REDA back in 2013 to drive sustainability in Malaysia's real estate industry. Our certification is based on Singapore's Green Mark and includes our local UBBL standards and nation standards. So you may download our certification criteria on our website, www.greenre.org. And we also carry out training programs and talks, and this is such a talk. And our next one will be our GreenRE Managers course, which we were planning for a physical event, but looking at the COVID situation, I think it's going to be a webinar as well. So log into our training page, and you can also contact Narima, who's our head of training, and you can get our new dates. And our GreenRE certification, it's supported by local authorities and the Malaysian government, hence why GreenRE certified projects qualify for income tax allowances and incentives under MIDA and MOF. Okay, that's the short brief on GreenRE. I would now like to introduce our speakers. Good morning, speakers. Thanks for signing up to this. It was a short notice, but I'm glad that all the PowerPoints are ready and everyone's ready to go. Okay, first we have Mr. Ismail Haji Abdullah. He is the President and CEO of International Green Training Center, IGTC. He has been involved in various sustainability programs such as development of frameworks and blueprints for green city-state, programs by municipal councils in Malacca and Selangor City, wide GHG municipal inventory, preparation for climate change action plans, and he's also the Ministry of Human Resource and Green Master Trainer. Next, we have Mr. S. Ramesh Subramaniam. He is the Assistant General Manager of IGM Corporation Berhad. He has a vast experience in the construction and property industry, and he's also a qualified, he is involved in quality management, process enhancement, and sustainability initiatives in IGM. And so together, both our speakers have, I guess, a few decades of experience. And before I pass it on to our speakers, please put in your questions, your name and your organization in the chat box, and we will get to them after the talks. Thank you. So I will hand it over to our first speaker, Encik Ismail.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yeah.
Reda. Thank you very much, GreenRE. Thank you very much, Reda, for having me. This is a big challenge because of such a short time, and the topics that been assigned to us is big. Yeah. So we are trying our level best to make sure that myself, together with my colleague Ramesh, we try our level best to share our knowledge, experience, and some expertise to see how can Reda and GreenRE to be what do you call it, a center. As far as real estate is concerned, I think whatever that you have said just now, Rita, is perfect. That building sector. While building sector, because building sector is very unique. In building you will get energy. In building you get transportation. In building there is a waste. In building there is a water. So this is why the building from the very beginning, from the design, construction, operation. Obviously, the operation part will be the big chunk of carbon coming out. So even until the demolition. So from that perspective, everybody have to understand. Now, my approach on this, I will handle, or I will talk about the impact of climate change. So what is the climate change? So at least it will give us a clear head start before Ramesh can continue about what will be the initiatives and how can GreenRE coming in. How can GreenRE coming in and provide some solution, provide some help, and so on to our industry player. Now, as I said, very challenging, because I'm supposed to stop at 10:35. Is that correct, or should I extend a little bit more, Junita?
No problem. You can go ahead.
No problem. Go ahead. Okay. Because my slide is quite a lot in a sense, for half an hour. Okay, but I'll try my level best to share. Now, this first and foremost, whatever that we talk today, when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about ESG, when we talk about climate change and so on, we have to understand that this is the root cause. The root cause is climate change, and we need to understand why it happened. Why 100 years ago nobody talked about climate change, but now everybody, every single moment, people are talking about climate change. Okay, so for us is we now, maybe last 10 years we are not really feel or we're really affected by the climate change, but nowadays, especially when people are in town, you are in KL, when there is a heavy rain, especially right now, you will get a flash flood, immediate flash flood. Now, why that thing happened? Those days, they still rain, but if you refer to NARIM, our government department who is mainly doing all the research on hydrology, even at the center of the slide, you can see that this is their forecast. What will happen to our country in 2050? So you will see that they already forecasted the sea level rise, a certain amount, by 2050. So this is in meter. So if you convert it into, you know, some is showing you 0.307. So it's basically it's a 300 mm, which is already a one foot. Yeah. So it is so much of for the planner, for the local authority, as well as the other stakeholders like, you know, the developer, the investor, consultants, you know. So everybody must be in the know, you know. So you cannot avoid of saying that, look, you know, I don't care about climate change. I don't care about what is happening, but you, yeah, even on your personal basis will be affected to this. Okay. So why flash flood? Because of the intensity of rain now is very, very much higher compared to 100 years ago. Okay. So I just share here that well, what happened in Kelantan in 2014, you know, when we have a huge flood in Kelantan, the intensity of that night is 1,500 mm compared to our national average national rainfall in Malaysia is only 150 mm. So you just imagine that can happen. Yeah? And obviously to address this we call adaptation. So I will share more about what would be adaptation approach and so on, even at international level. Now, again, I'm giving you a more detailed figure, but this is coming from the report. Malaysia, you know, we are a member of UN, and every 4 years we have to submit national communication report, and now every 2 years we have to submit biennial update report. So national communication report is basically telling the UN what is our plan, yeah, to address climate change. Okay, final update report is basically telling UN what is our progress. Okay, so that's a progress report. Yeah. So if you refer to MC number 3, and we combine this report together actually. So you will see this. You will see that what is the forecasted average annual temperature, what is the forecasted average annual rainfall, as well as sea level rise. Now, don't tell me nobody is what do you call it? You know, you are free from all this impact. You know, everybody will be affected. Worst case is if you are a realty, what do you call it, estate owner, you are the developer, you are the building contractor, you are, you know, so it's if you're not lucky, you know, you are building something at low level, and by 2050 it's already submerged. So what will happen to your property? Okay, so same thing, you know, if you don't design properly your drain, your open drain and the kind of thing, you will get flash flood, and nobody will buy your house, nobody will buy your property, and that kind of thing. And then same thing, you know, if you don't design properly your building, so you will get heat because of the average temperature is increased, and you know, you can increase your what do you call it, heat island, yeah, for the building. Now look at this. We need to understand this is the most important what do you call it, knowledge, yeah, for everybody. Okay, so I used to share this slide. This is my favorite slide, you know. So every time when I talk to people, when I give seminar, when I give training, you know, I don't miss this slide because this is very important. Okay, what we need to do now, you know, what is happening, you know, if you were to compare from 1700, yeah, year 1700, this is US, how US call it. Year is 1700, yeah? 1700 years ago, year, yeah? And we are talking about, you know, what happened now, yeah, in year 2020. Okay. Now you see this issue where when we talk about climate change, you know, we can't avoid from talking about intensity, GSG intensity. So in year 1700, the intensity is in the range of 182 to 180 ppm. What happened now? You know, in 2020, yeah, the intensity has increased almost double. Okay, so this is what we need to understand. People, yeah, across the board must understand. You know, even the school children have to understand this. You know, why this thing happened, and what is the status. So just to share with you, you know, as far as the GSG intensity, it keep on increasing. Our global temperature is keep on increasing. You know, if you notice that, you know, from what do you call it, from year 2019 to 2020 on the same month, over a year period, it's already increased, close to 1.6 ppm. So you just imagine, what we are trying to avoid in Paris Agreement is trying to limit to 2 centigrade, of CO, what do you call it, the temperature, and obviously this is very much related to the ppm of GSG. We are trying to limit not more than 400 ppm. So what happened now? We already exceed 400 ppm. All right. Now we need to understand this. How this thing happen? How this thing happen is when you have the ppm of an average of 200. So what happened? The globe are still receiving the same light, the same heat from the sun from those days until now. And at that time, because of the intensity is low, the amount of heat that been reflected to the atmosphere is 80%. We're still keeping it 20% because that is, we need that to for every what do you call it, life in the world. Now, what happened now? It changed because of intensity keep on increasing, and the amount of heat being reflected to the atmosphere reduced from 80% to 20%, and the amount of heat trapped within the atmosphere of the globe increased from 20 to 80. So this is, in short, what we call a climate change, and a climate change was affected by the global warming. So I hope that everybody is clear. You can put up question, you can you can put on chat if you need me to further explain this. Because this is a call. Everybody needs to understand this. Now, I show here, in the world we have a center. UN they have a center, US they have a center of the climate. So they are monitoring on daily basis of the atmospheric CO2. So I took one from the Mauna Loa in Hawaii. So this is the record. What we need to understand here is the more emission, the more GHG intensity, the higher the temperature of the globe. So it's just like a one parallel. If you notice the two graphs, the top and bottom, so you see they are running in parallel. So the more you increase your GHG, the more the globe will be heated. Okay, so this is a real issue that everybody needs to understand, from across the board, whether you are in what do you call it, in building sectors, you are in agriculture, you are in any single thing, So we need to understand that. But on the same token also, we need to understand this emission or GCHG, where is they coming from? So I took this from reports, from UN reports. It shows in average, in the world we have direct emission and indirect emission. Okay, so you see direct emission is very much is coming from the operational side. Indirect emission is sometimes is coming from the embedded side, meaning that there are passive side, but again easy to explain to people. When you build some building, we build the material that you use for the building, obviously that involves electricity as well. So there is an emission coming from there, so we call it embodied carbon or embedded carbon. Now look at it, look at the amount of emission coming from all these sector. Though that building it shows small in operational, but you see from the energy side, so there is a building as well. So if you combine all these, so if you are talking about real estate, you will see real estate is covering everything here. So what I'm trying to deliver here is basic mass of every of our single activity we are contributing to the emission. Every, even now we are doing a webinar. We for sure we are not able to use the webinar if there is no electricity. So to a certain extent, though that it reduces a lot, even if we were to compare to face, this is, well, you are reducing almost 99%. But again, we are still emitting because we are still using certain watts of energy. Now, this is something that everybody needs to understand. The basic from what is how climate change is happen, and we need to also to understand where is the emission coming. So they are coming from the agriculture, forest. If you look at the top, AF, land use basically. Now you look at it from the building side, on the operation side, so there's no building. You cannot survive without electricity. Whether they are coming from fixed line or whether they are coming from renewable energy. But you still need energy. So transportation, obviously, you are using fuels. Industry, obviously, uh, uh, from the sector of what we call it, transportation, what we call embedded, it's still there. The building embedded is still there. The industry part embedded is still there. So, in short, every of us contributing to this. Okay. Now, you look at this. You look at what is the plan. As far as this is very much related to our subject today. We are talking about real estate. So as far as real estate is very much about construction. Okay. So in construction, we have these two set of the emission. One is coming from the operation. The other one is what we call embodied carbon or embodied GHG. Okay. So this is the target. That we need to understand, this is coming from the forecast of IPCC. So under UNFCCC, they have IPCC. Okay, so is Intergovernmental Parties for Climate Change. So this is where that all of us need to understand. This is the global plan. As far as building is concerned, this is a global plan. So where we are in Malaysia, do we have this or basically a sub plan to follow them? Because IPCC, they understand that okay, building will contribute a certain amount totally, for the whole group. On the same time, on the same token, on how can you reduce it? So that's why they split into the what we call it, the embodied carbon, and then and the operational carbon, and they claim as a new standard. So new standard is and is basically, previously we don't really care. When we build the building, we don't really measure what is the BI, building energy index, even at the planning stage. But now we are moving toward more advanced the building design. So we are thinking, or the UN is thinking of to get the what they call it, break even. So in business, you're talking about break even. Your cost, equal to your turnover. So break even. Over here, our break even is very much talking about to get the operational carbon equal with embodied carbon. From previous years, nobody talked about this. So I can say that you look at the average new standard, the old one, and that is not new anymore. So we are moving towards advanced building. Advanced building is very much of smart building, green building. And that's where that we can reduce the operational carbon. So you see, the target is by 2035. The 2035, we should be able. We should be able to break even. Okay, and obviously, yes, we need to understand the development is there. So the city is growing. People need more houses and so on and so forth. So we are forecasting another break even is in 2050. So that is where that our industry player must understand. Radar must understand. Who else? Our ministry need to understand this. So we don't have enough resources to do this study. But what we need to do now is to understand this, and we need to come up with our action plan towards this. Okay. Move again. This is something also my favorite subject, my favorite slide, because I noticed that not many people are really aware. When we talk about our commitment of reducing 45%, people thought that we want to reduce absolute amount. Yes, you can reduce absolute amount from forecast against against your actual forecast amount of emission, not your current emission. Okay, so if you look at the sentence, we are committing to reduce intensity. Our emission intensity. The unit is kg CO2 equivalent per our ringgit, RM ringgit. Okay, now the real meaning is, the intensity, our baseline, the year. I mean, for national intensity in 2005 is 0.4285, and we are committing to UNFCCC that we want to reduce 45% to become 0.2232 intensity. All right? Why? Now, obviously, the country is moving forward to be a developed country. Okay, so we're supposed to achieve into 020, but now we are refocused to 2030. Now, obviously, the GDP, the income of people, the income of the government, and so on will increase definitely. Okay, because we are talking about per capita. If we were to claim Malaysia as a developed country, one of the indicator is we need to achieve minimum per capita income of 15,000 US per person. All right. So obviously, you need to increase your GDP. Now, UN allow you, to increase your GDP, and you need to make a commitment to reduce your intensity, whereby that basically instead of your emission are going on the same percentage with the GDP, what you need to do now, you have to reduce that percentage. That's why sometimes people call as what do you call it, emission neutral growth. Neutral growth meaning that there's no increase as far as emission intensity. Now, what we want to do now is not only maintaining the emission intensity, but we want to reduce the emission intensity. Okay, so this is not a small job. Everybody is involved, especially the building sector. Now, look at this. What is happening? As far as climate change, you will get two basically segment, of how to address the climate change. One we call mitigation action. The other one is the adaptation action. Okay, mitigation action, maybe afterward Ramesh will share a lot of things with you. The mitigation action. But I touch a bit on the adaptation because in Malaysia, I think it's still new for us on the adaptation. Okay, adaptation in short is you have to prepare yourself. You have to plan yourself. As far as the city, as far as the building owner. So you need to plan yourself to make sure that if I show the photo up there, golf course, we don't want to happen on the left side. So your property become no value at all. Nobody will be in that building, or even if you are some owner, there's no value at all, for your asset. Now we need to understand this. Is basically the idea is to make sure that you are well prepared. Okay, as far as the building industry is concerned, we need to have all the data, especially on the forecast of the sea level rise. These people, they are next to the sea. Okay, and we need to understand, what will be the forecast of the global temperature, specifically for our country. If you want to go into more specifically in KL. So if you are talking about rainfall, we have to go specifically, in KL. So you get from Nahri, and there is a clear forecast. Now we have a lot of technology. We are using satellites and so on, so we can really know, what will happen. Now, this is some example of adaptation. Many countries they have done this. So basically monitor, analyze, and come up with the action plan. I'll go quick because time is running off now. Okay, and now there is a way people are looking at it. Instead of doing it cleanly, I call it two-dimensional. Now people are moving into three-dimensional. Three-dimensional is basically you are looking, on the horizontal side. You are looking at what is your exposure and how sensitive you are, and how is your capacity to adapt. At the same time, you are looking at the vertical line. What will affect the industry, and how you're going to manage this and that kind of thing. So there is under UN, there is what I call it, a three approach, what we call a three-dimensional approach. If you were to adapt this climate change, one is basically the hazardous part. So we need to understand, what will be the impact, and number two, what is our exposure, and number three, how vulnerable we are. Are we next to the sea? Are we on top of the hill? So later on there will be a landslide, that kind of thing. Okay. So I go quick bit on this. Now, again, this is another challenge. I purposely put this. You know why? because people are talking about post-pandemic, but to me, there's a big question mark. You do not know when is really, a post-pandemic, because, like yesterday, it goes up and again, three figure. We are exposed to this. I think the whole world will be exposed to this. Uh, Definitely, real estate, definitely you are impacted by this. So there'll be a long global issue on economy. There'll be issue on, again, bankruptcy, failure in some sectors of the economy, unemployment, cross-border movement of people tighten because of that. You have a lot of problems, especially in Malaysia now. You have to talk about the palm oil industry. They are suffering because, we don't have enough workers. We are relying so much on foreign workers. Now, weak of economy, and the other one is the disruption of global supply chain. Obviously, because you close your border, and this is the main effect. Look at this. Look at this, because this is going to be something that everybody needs to understand. Whether you are in any industry, this is the forecast by World Bank. Something will happen in 2021. Okay. Yes, there is a growth, but the growth is small. Okay. So this is the thing, but we never know. What will happen. The pandemic is still going on. Okay. If we can control, good. If you not, then they will come up with another forecast. Now, implication. There's a lot of implication, and I touch a lot on this. It's because I think this is what we really need to know. As far as a player in real estate, we really need to know this. How can we improve? If you are in medical business, what can you do for your medical waste? How can you manage the adverse effect of air pollutants currently? Because COVID, you can't see. So air quality is the most important now. And then, your lifestyle, green recoveries, sustainability approaches, and, how you're going to do your adaptation planning and control risk and so on. Okay. So one of the things that this slide I used previously for IEM, so this is where we are looking at the opportunity, and beauty is EPA themselves, they already come up with a definition what is the green engineering. So green engineering, basically, you are doing adaptation. As simple as that. You are doing adaptation, whatever coming to the climate, you're trying to giving a solution to that, but at the same time, you increase your economic revenue. Right. So again, I'm coming up with this is because this is how the real estate will be affected. It has achieved from large city office into a smaller one. And to a certain extent, it become the Soho, so it becomes small office and home office. Okay, people are working from home now. So it changed a lot. So if we were to build, more offices, the chances is nobody will buy. Okay, so decrease in car reliance. So people are more towards, they stay at home. So, but next, the public spaces, restaurant layout. If you go to a restaurant now, so I believe that to a certain extent, the new restaurant will build up later on, they will cater for all this, what they call it, distance, and all those, So even to a certain extent, you'll see on the window, there will be a, what do you call it, temperature equipment already. It's not a mobile, it can become a fixed one. Okay, so this is the thing that every of us need to understand, whether you are architect, engineer, consultant, investor, or so on. Okay, this is something that I would like to share with everybody. To me, carbon footprint will be a new currency. So in anything that you do, we need to measure carbon. Okay, so what happened to the real estate, as far as we are talking about sustainability, we have to see how can we do planning, and how can we manage our transportation, how can we reduce cost, reduce carbon coming from our lifestyles and so on. So I took up this from the Putrajaya action plan for the adaptation. Okay, so because a few more slides more. Okay, it is a way for low carbon real estate. So you have to start from the design side, okay, and move into the construction and move into your operation and how you manage to do, if there's something that you need to improve, you have to do retrofit, as applied. So it's basically we are applying ACA for the entire industry of, basically if you manage the real estate, you will start from a cradle to the grave. Now, there will be a demand for all the smart features, because of now with the pandemic, everything. Yeah, most important is, you know, you suppose you can't touch, you know. So now it's a lot of things with on the remote, a lot of things will be on sensor. Okay, this is ERP will come into place now. Those days we are talking about, yeah, ERP only happen in Singapore, but now I think KL will have all the ERP. And now we are talking part on the what you call it, online as well. Okay, again the reality. Yeah, we need to understand what happened to us. Yeah, I think some of us also experience that, you know, the voice is not that clear, the image is not that clear. We have this issue, you know, but somehow we have to address it. Okay, so demand again, you know, when we talk about this, we have to come up with some solutions, you know, especially in the building. Yeah, okay. Now again, the design, as I explained earlier, you know, there will be a change. Definitely, there will be a change. Okay, so well, again, robots and so on will come in. Okay, and okay, other thing is if you want to reduce the emission, you know, you have to migrate into low carbon fuels, you know, even to a certain extent renewable energy. So I'm coming from this industry. I would like to share with you there's a big change as far as the energy is concerned, you know. So the ship can do transfer, can supply their fuel only next. So we call it ship to ship transfer. And that the LNG are known now, you know, people are transporting on ISO tank already, you know, and then now in China, all the generator, they are changing from normal diesel to LNG. So this is something that everybody needs to understand, and we have to move towards this. Okay, so IT, yeah, is no longer alien to us, you know. Every day that we move, and to a certain extent that on, we will rely a lot on AI, yeah, artificial intelligence. All right. International requirements, definitely they will be affected. Yeah? Definitely there will be what you call it, an element that we need to understand from to our industry. You know, this is something we can't change. You know, so this is coming from UN, it's coming from what you call it, in the associations under the UNFCCC and so on. So they set the rule, we can't change, we have to follow. So you know, that's sustainability all about, where we need to care our business side. Okay, example, you know, so I give you a very simple example, basically to share with everybody that, you know, if you talk about SDG, so SDG will guide you to a certain extent. LCG will guide you, you know, as far as the real estate is concerned, for the low carbon economy. So there's quite a number of SDG, basically 10 SDG altogether. So this is where that you can use their indicators and so on for your measurement. Thank you very much. Janita, hand back to you.
All right, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you, Ismail. It was a very informative, with a lot of facts. It was a short presentation, but not to worry. Ismail will be back with us in a couple of months. We'll be carrying a 2-day training program, and you'll be immersed with all the facts and figures for 2 days with Ismail. So please check the dates with Narima, and yeah. So I'll hand it over now to Mr. Ramesh.
Thank you, Junita. Maybe we can do an audio check.
Yeah.
Good.
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 Yep, good on my side.
Thank you, Ismail. You gave us a real insight of from know why that global warming, climate change, what can we do, what is it for us. That's a lot of information. So I really hope that others have benefit, because what I'm going to speak will relate to what you have said earlier, and what in Malaysia that carbon initiative has been taken by Malaysian government, and what we can do. So I'll move on to share my screen now. Okay. Janita,
I can. Yeah, it's all good.
All good? All right.
Yeah.
So rest of the people who are participating in this talk, let me move on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share a few things with you within this half an hour. Why is that carbon initiative is important, and what constitute into what we say when we say carbon. So what do you mean by carbon? What constitutes in carbon? Then I'll move on and touch there's always some way of tackling this, and I'll go on very much related to LCCF, low carbon city framework. In that low carbon city framework, we'll talk about green tech application, and also the government's idea to have a low carbon city challenge. And we move on into a more detailed discussion about our green tech master plan for this country 2017 to 2030. And from there, we can realize that as many things will impact us either in construction or in property development. Definitely, because the master plan talks about so many things, we can pick up a lot of information from the master plan and also from LCCF, and we are done. So basically, the information that I'm going to share with you were taken from KASA, Kementerian Alam Sekitar dan Air, used to be MASTAC, SEDA, and also MGTC, Malaysian Green Tech Corporation and Climate Change. So I'll move on to my next slide. Why carbon initiative? The first two information already shared by Ismail, right? Climate change and global warming. That is the main reason why we are thinking about carbon initiative. When you say carbon initiative, Ismail already shared with you why is the reason we need to go talk about carbon, right? Either embodied carbon or even operational carbon. And that's one way that we can do some changes to our global warming. And we must understand that global warming is for real. Ismail have given us a lot of information. Next thing is our own government's policy and target. And Junita also spoke to us about a few things about this earlier. And for that reason, we have made a promise, we made a target, and government is going for it. And from that, they came up with many other. That's why the green technology, the master plan came about. The third important reason is carbon initiative, because we want to quantify it. We're able to measure it. We must measure what we are doing. Previously, when all this initiative, we talk about sustainability, it was not quantified. So yeah, there's some improvement. How am I going to quantify? So throughout the world, one of the way that most important way to quantify it is through carbon emission. So it's CO2 equivalent. And I say CO2 equivalent, what does it mean CO2 equivalent? Like what Ismail said earlier, when there is an emission, right, it can come from your CO2 or methane. There are 6 types of gases from Kyoto Protocol was linked to that. So based on that, we are looking at. So then we make a comparison. So we can benchmark, right? That's the benchmark we did based on what was shared earlier by Ismail, based on our 2005 GDP emission intensity. Whether we're making improvement or not. So that's one reason that we are moving towards carbon initiative. Now, what are the main source of emission? We agreed the emissions coming from us is human activity. Ismail put it very correctly. He said, we enhance the global greenhouse gas effect. We are the cause and we must be the solution. So the main source of emission coming from this means 3 things. One is energy. The other one, many of us call it the mobility or even transportation, right? Which is vehicle. The third is waste. These are the 3 main sources of emission. So the idea is to tackle these 3 main parameters. That how are we going to do that? And we must have something, right? So for that, this is my next slide. Based on all these things, the cities are at the front line of climate change. Why cities are at the front line of climate change? Because basically, most of us, half of us live in urban areas, which produce 80% of the GDP. So if you focus on that, so basically we were able to tackle this climate change. That's the reason the low carbon cities an opportunity to reduce carbon. And what is Malaysia's response to this? Is low carbon cities framework. Okay, before we go to low carbon city framework, is it only low carbon city framework which was launched in 2011? No. Malaysia has started way long back a lot of things. So I just give you a bit of a snapshot what we have done, all right, in this country. So like adding palm biodiesel into diesel fuel in 2007 is one of the initiatives. So in that way, the emission can be controlled. And establishment of SEDA. When SEDA came in, they focused a lot of things on renewable energy. So we used to have a feed-in tariff, and now they have net energy metering. Then move on, we have National Land Public Transport Master Plan. Because of this master plan, this is what you're seeing from LRT, BRT, MRT. So all that in the intention is we want to go Malaysia towards low carbon. Then eventually LCCF came about. Then Green Technology Master Plan. in the Green Technology Master Plan, there are two things that I just put in there. One is the transportation sector. Malaysia's aim is to reach 40% of public overall. So I'll share later in the master plan that is in a snapshot of what's our country's target. And when the country's target, how is going to affect the industry, in that sense, real estate industry. Second one is implementing green building certification and improving this. One of the way is when you certify your building through either GreenRE or any other certification rating tool, that's one of the way that we can contribute to a low carbon development and low carbon country. So just a bit of overview, right? What is the sectors that you, so from energy, transport, waste, even from your forest management and agriculture. So I'm not going to touch so much on this, just pick on in a few areas like this, all right? We will talk later on National Energy Efficient Action Plan. Government initiative on green building. Government has started a lot of few buildings just to showcase what green building, and earlier Ismail also spoke about BEI, building energy intensity. So that was in the showcase building done. And of course, SEDA, FIT now is NEM. Then public transport. How about waste? In waste is, of course, initially was just to promote the TR, and now we move on to have where the act has been gazetted, Act 672 has been gazetted about solid waste control, and a few states has already adopted it. What is the impact on us? We have to design, we have to ensure that our development cater for that kind of a requirement from the Act 672 on a solid waste control and management. We move on to the next. Now let's talk about what is this LCCF, Low Carbon City Framework, launched in 2011. The aim was, one is to guide and assess the development, okay? And the framework is basically into two components, right? One is identify the potential area, reduce carbon emission. We spoke about that, so we can identify potential. What is in need? We'll look after that later on. Second is low carbon city assessment system. There must be a way that I assess using carbon calculator. If you go into LCCF, you can realize that a lot of the carbon calculator is given where the initiative, the action taken are quantified in sense to carbon emission. So now you know your city, your development, how much of carbon emission that has been reduced or changed. So that's one of the key areas. And the 5 elements in the framework, 4 is to reduce CO2. From either your energy use, your water use, your waste, your transportation. The 5th comes from what we call sequestration. Basically, sequestration means you're adding your green space. The ability of plant to sequestrate CO2 from the air. So one of the other things that government look after is under this, what we call that LUCF. So that is to increase the green space, not to encroach into greenfield area. Development, when you decide on a development, if you look into green rating tools, we talk about sustainable site planning. Where does the sustainable site planning? The whole idea is we don't want to encroach into a green areas. Why? Because the country want to preserve your green areas. Once you preserve your green areas and you increase your green areas, basically you increase the sequestration. Once you increase the sequestration, your net carbon emission becomes better, right? That is the reason. So this framework basically looking into the whole master plan of the country and provides you that idea. So that's the reason when you look into green rating tools, oh, sustainable site planning, increase your green space, increase your green canopy. It contributes to that. Okay, and hang on a bit. So LCCF look into 4 main areas, which is urban environment, urban infrastructure, urban transportation, and building. I already mentioned LCCF is always about urban. We focus on urban areas. All right. A bit of a snapshot, okay, of what is this urban environment, urban transportation, and urban infrastructure. Just hang on for a while. I need to get a bit of and building. So I give you the bit. You can read. Of course, you can see from the slide. Of course, site selection, etc., and all that. Urban environment focuses on centralized and well-defined city plan. The whole idea is I want to reduce energy consumption at my whole cities that I'm doing and moving towards more greener lifestyle. What is greener lifestyle? As I said earlier, more greenery areas, maybe park, etc. Then we move on to urban transportation. What is in urban transportation is adoption of more public transportation. What does it mean? If you are in an area where low carbon cities, you have to start thinking that I need to design, build something that in the idea of more to urban public transportation, and also promote walking. And it also comes with a target to reduce single occupancy vehicle. You look at that later on when you look into Malaysian green technology master plan. Third is urban infrastructure. So what is it, urban infrastructure? Effective urban planning and provision of infrastructure. One of the things that initiative was taken was, for example, is like power generation. The other one is a district cooling station comes under this urban infrastructure too. The fourth is the building. Okay, what is in the building? Efficient use of energy, water, and waste management. Of course, from there, low carbon city look into many other 13 performance criteria and 35 sub criteria. So what I urge everyone is, please have a look at this LCCF. The government have moved towards this direction. Eventually, more areas will go into LCCF, and we have to be ready for it. Okay, now WIIFM. This is the same question that we asked earlier. What is it in for me, for us in the industry? It's the same question. So when you look into low carbon city, Malaysia moving into this direction, what is it in for us? We have to do it. We are the cause, we are the solution. Next thing is, when you're doing development in these kind of cities where it's gazetted as a low carbon cities, you have to have the understanding and knowledge. Okay, then we move on. Have this thought in our mind, what is in it for us? What is going to affect? What are the opportunity we have when any of these policy change, any of the target by the government, right? That's what we must have in our thoughts. Now let's look into this. Looks clear on my screen. I hope that everybody's screen is quite okay. Let's look into urban environment. From site selection, urban form, and urban greenery and environmental quality. These are the few areas. So then next is urban transport, single occupancy vehicle, public transport, walking, low carbon public transport. Even under low carbon, so government is even looking into the public transport to be the low carbon. That means more efficient, energy efficient. Then traffic management, urban infrastructure, looking into from infrastructure provision, waste, energy, water management. Finally, low carbon buildings, basically looking to operational. This is what Ismail said earlier about operational carbon, right? Now we have the framework. What is it for us, right? Let's say the city want to go for LCCF. They will, based on the data in 2018, they do some comparison. Okay, so the whole idea is, when there is a CO2 reduction, they'll be awarded with green assessment. Let's say you are part of it, and you will be part of the stakeholder with that local council, the body. So you also will have some form of a recognition. And the goal is to reduce 55% by 2030. Of course, the easiest way is to reduce from the city itself, right? Because 80% of the GDP is coming from city. A bit of a snapshot, who are the LCCF participants at this moment, right? End of 2019, 52 out of 154 local authorities are already into it. Not only that, university into it, because as part of the program, these 3 authorities are already into it, and they have given us what kind of changes they have made. And local authorities feel by using LCCF, there is improvement in theirs. Okay, they can move towards the sustainable development. All that is in place. Okay, let us go on to the next one. We have LCCF, but in the thing, the adoption, the use of it, although not to that level that needed, so it came about this, what do you call it, green technology application for development of low carbon city. So what you see on your right side, okay, what is this GTLCD? By 2021, they're supposed to come out with a few things, all right? The key things is they want to scale up the green initiative, right? Next thing is to learn from it so they can review the LCCF, low carbon city framework. So based on this information, all these participating cities, etc., and LCCF will be reviewed and revised in future. All right, it's already works are taking places. All right, the rest of the information is for you to digest, because I'm going to move on to the next. Okay, and this is a challenge was introduced. Out of this, on the right, I gave you some of the what we call the low carbon zones. So why is that this challenge was introduced by government? Because with the aim of two, all right, low carbon zones and also cities. All right, what do you mean by low carbon zones? Right. So the whole idea is, although there's no fast rule about it, but idea is like you have a certain size of development or area whereby for all the elements from transport, waste, energy, so they can identify you as a low carbon zones. So what government will do, they work together, they identify a low carbon zone. I said today there are few low carbon zones. But what is in it for us? A low carbon zone. Yes, if you are developing that kind of a low carbon zone, you must understand eventually you will be doing part of the LCCF and etc. All so-called the green building, all the green strategies that we said earlier. So we need to be prepared. Okay. The next thing is individual organization like university campuses who have participated, and even companies like any of us would have maybe a massive building or development. You can be part of this area when you become a low carbon cities partner with the authority. So there is an opportunity for us to become a partner in this and contribute. Now we move on to Green Technology Master Plan. What I did, I put on this slide the 6 main parameters I can do. One is energy, manufacturing. I'm going to skip manufacturing, that's not very much related to us, unless we are developing to do some industrial development. Then transport, building, waste. So the whole information here was taken from Green Technology Master Plan, all right? So I'm just going to take a bit of few here and there. Let's look into what are the targets set by all these different sector. Energy sector, renewable energy. By 2025, renewable energy mix going to be higher. That means we have an opportunity to come up, look into renewable energy. That means doesn't matter is photovoltaic, anything else, but you must have high. So when that thoughts in our mind, when we do our development, I need to increase my renewable energy. So that's one of it. Then on a target B, which is in a transportation sector, the initiative is I wanted to move more to energy efficient vehicles. So that's the reason you can see some of the buildings now, they have all this where they charge electric vehicle and all that. So one of the key areas, because the development is coming from the master plan. Then we have what we call, what is my target C, in building sector, all right? Increasing of certified building in green, then building energy intensity, then we move on to waste and in water sector. So there are a few, have a look at this because I'm going to share the detail about it on the next few slides, right? So out of these 6 parameters, electricity generation, energy efficiency, etc., right? Green building design, sustainable construction practice, green building materials. So these will affect us. One is you must focus on a green building design. You must have that idea of having going more towards more green building materials. Waste treatment, acts have been coming in. We need to have a better waste treatment. Focus on public transportation. Let's look into this. This is from Malaysian master plan. So there are many things there, right? So just look at a few things: expected end game and existing initiatives done. Let's look at this. Increase public willingness to pay for quality life. It means tariffs is going to go up. Okay, you can read from the line, all right? Next thing is efficient use of electricity and optimizing load factor. That this is at a growth rate of a power plants, right? Then gradual increase in number of cogen power plant, right? The whole idea is I want to be more efficient, use lesser energy, right? The country wants to do that. And let's look into this. This is one of the electricity generation, net energy metering. That means we have opportunity to be part of this in a net energy metering. The other one that if you're about power generators is going in efficiency in power generation. As a country moves to that, and the other one is minimum energy performance standards and national energy efficient action plan, right? What is the outcome of all this? Let's look at this. Key initiative. Let's just focus on minimum energy performance standards. So we have to have like high efficiency motors. That's why now in the green building design, we are talking about not only high efficiency motors, better chillers, etc. Has the country done anything on the saving energy production? Look at this table was extracted from this report in 2017. If you look into this combined margin, all right, just look at Peninsular Malaysia, you look at this ton CO2, all right, that means that's much of emission, this emission factor, right? From, if you look at 2013-14, we were at 0.742, now it's reduced, meaning the energy produced from our power plant are more efficient. So that's one of the government initiatives. Why they did that? That a few new power plants, they make it into a more super critical, better technology was adopted. That's the reason there was a saving in that reduction in the, what we call it, emission factor. How about transport? Let's look into this current, then moving ahead. One is private vehicles. Definitely, the nation wants to reduce usage of private vehicles, and it means increase in rail-based and public transport. So is there any opportunity for us? What is in it for us? Most of us will talk about TOD, transport-oriented development. So these are the opportunities because government moving towards that, and you can look into this master plan from our national policy on transportation. From there, you can have and think about our development. Okay. So there are so many information available even from this master plan. So we don't have that much time, but my thought is please have a look. So I'm just giving a snapshot of it. Next is building. Okay. From building, let's look into this thing. One is green building. This we have touched so much on green building. Let's look at this target of sustainable construction practices, where we talk about IBS. It's already in the plan. That IBS is already coming in, is there, and you're doing development. You look into your Kementerian Rancang, you'll be given, hey, you must have an IBS score. Okay, where does it come from? It comes from here. So be prepared. Next is MS1525, not only MS1525, 2680. Yes, it's in a voluntary, but slowly has been absorbed into UBBL, and whichever the state is adopting that UBBL, be prepared that you need to design for based on requirement from the MS1525. All right. So this is a bit of a overview, right, of that what is in building. Okay, let's look into this. All right. Expected when there's again expected end game, right? Efficient construction practice, regulated local construction demolition waste. Okay, this is what I said earlier, where the X672 has been introduced, right, and it's been gazetted and it's coming towards our way. And I was in some discussion with Solid Waste Corp. They're coming out with what they call it a design guideline for developer. It means you need to provide like a compartment where we have you segregate the waste. It could be like a glass base, paper, and metal. So you have to segregate it. So the developers have to provide that in your design. All right. It's coming in. Not yet. They have not finalized the guideline. But once it, then they'll work together with the local council of PBT, and it will come towards us as a developer to incorporate into our design. Okay. So these are the various green initiatives from low carbon city, from ours GreenREs, right? Low carbon city challenge, right? Apart from that, the CIDB's MyCrash, just to give you an idea, there are so many initiatives from rating it, not only that, providing finance and fund. Let's look into wastewater, okay? Waste and water, all right? I'm just going to touch a bit on us, right? Reduce reliance on treated clean water for non-potable use. Meaning, either you harvest, that's why our design, we took look into harvest of rainwater. Next is stormwater, right? So these are the few things all coming from here. And government itself realized there was always a water loss, what do you call it, from non-renewable source, because there was a lot of leakages. There was another plan taken where they wanted to improve all the piping system throughout the country. That is already in place. Then last few more slides. Local Agenda 21, all right? It has been in place a few states, a few local councils has adopted it, all right? And the reason is that they wanted to provide a better quality life and viewability to the area. And if you are in that kind of states where the local council still having the local, they're still following the local Agenda 21, which I give you a bit of detail here. So just giving an example of some of that done in Shah Alam city. So you can be part of it. For example, all right, you can be in a recycling campaign, all right. That shows that we as a developer are more caring to the environment. And next is what this slide is just to give you an idea how that government has taken initiative through that local government towards the local community. They are trying to take that local community. For example, in PJ, they have whereby they call it 3R campaigns is going on, and they even given the fund for them to from their quit rent and all that if they have some initiative taken at their home. So these are the one of the ways. Finally, just to give a bit of the idea, right, on what we have low carbon cities, and there are in Iskandar, Malaysia, low carbon city versus what we call a low carbon society. There are some differences. What is low carbon city is it's not so clear, but I think this is what's similar when Ismail shared with us, right? Integrated. So there is different cities have adopted either LCCF or low carbon society. So let's look at the next one. So you give you a bit of the idea of which area, right? So we have Johor Bahru look into low carbon society, all right? Then Pasir Gudang, few other areas, Iskandar development, all look into low carbon society, and there also will be LCCF. And the other one that we may want to think about it is about a smart city, all right? This is what was touched by Ismail. He said, moving ahead, pandemic, the smart city development, there is also in our guideline about smart city in Malaysia. So that's one way that we can get some information, okay? Finally, all this thing what we shared from climate change towards the Malaysian carbon initiative, what the country has done, country's plans in LCCF and our master plan, it's for us because we are the problem, we are the one who enhance the global warming, and we are the solution. So I call everybody, let's develop more sustainable and with a better environment. Thank you. Back to you, Junita.
Thank you, Mr. Ramesh. Okay, we'll just jump straight into the questions. And we have one, I think it's to Mr. Ramesh. Which would be the most up-to-date reference document for low carbon for developers to refer to? Is it LCCF or LCC 2030?
It's LCCF. But the framework, you must understand that LCCF framework was given, and they are now actually in the middle of trying to review. That's why the green technology applications, so they want to learn from it. Okay. But at this moment, our reference is always a low carbon city framework. But from framework, that's why we like a GreenRE and all that, we also took that initiative. That's why the green building certification came about. But if you want to refer, at this moment, LCCF, there's enough information there for you to come up with your development. Maybe Ismail also can share with us if you have.
Okay. Right. Well, the question just now is which one is the most update? The most update is the correct math is LCC 2030, yeah? LCC 2030. So that's the latest version, right? Okay. Any more question?
Yeah, I have one more question from the same person. Are there any tax breaks similar to green buildings for MIDA to pursue low carbon?
Well, there's the current one we have basically we have GITA, you know, GITA, GITE, you know, so that is the existing one. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I think that's the only two in the market.
Yep. Any more?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
We have another question from Mr. Ramlu. He says that he understands that there are more local councils going into LCC requirements for planning submissions. Are there existing guidelines for submission compliance? Is it sufficient? If not, what additional guidelines would be imposed? And are there any Malaysian standards that developers can refer to? Okay, you can also look at the speakers, Mr. Ramesh and Encik Ismail. You can also look at the full questions in the group chat if you need.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Stop sharing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Ramesh, you comment first, then will come later.
Okay, let me have a look at that question.
Okay.
More local council are going to adopt. Yes, correct. Guidelines. Normally, what I refer back to that LCCF framework itself. That is come in the guideline. Additional. Are there any Malaysian standard?
yeah.
Well, when in LCCF they made reference to a few number of documents. All right, it's already in the LCCF document itself, which they are referring to. One of it is that commonly that we refer is MS 1525, and recently was that for MS 2680, which I mentioned earlier, and a few other things. So it's all is in the LCCF itself. They already mentioned cross-referencing to what standard. As far as this now, most of us will refer back to that LCCF itself as a guideline, because it's already that we need. Maybe I can share, see how the LCCF itself look like. Let me see whether I have it here. No, I don't have it with me now, right? Sorry. So then, if not, we would have able to. Well, I'll talk about it with detail. Sorry, I don't have it now, right?
Okay. Well, yeah, Ramesh, anything else to add?
No, you can add on.
Okay, yes. Basically, we don't have one standard currently, but there is a guide, you know. So as you say, LCC 2030 is basically there is another guide that is much improved compared to the earlier LCCF. Okay, then again, Ramesh, do what you are saying is basically what you do is we're doing cross-reference, yeah. Because if you understand, you know, the entire city, yeah, so there will be a lot of stakeholders involved. There will be a lot of act that we need to comply. Yeah? So it's very much of we are referring to MS 1525. We are referring to our what they call it Waste Act. So we are referring to Air Quality Act and that kind of thing. So it's in a way the document itself is does not making that as a standard by itself. You know, so it's a cross-reference method that we are using it now. Okay, I hope that is clear. Okay, any more?
Yep, that's the only two questions you've received so far. So
right.
let's open the floor between both our speakers if you'd like to comment on anything.
Okay.
Discuss anything.
Sure. Well, to me is we have to look from this angle with the current situation. Why I brought up about the pandemic issue, because that is basically some kind of disruption to whatever that you have planned earlier. You know, and people now thought that okay, having this pandemic, there is a very positive impact to the amount of emission. But don't forget, you know, that is absolute amount of emission, but in terms of intensity, it goes very high, higher than whatever that we plan to achieve. Okay, so people miss to understand that, you know, yes, people don't move and that kind of thing, but you notice this, your energy, yeah, your electricity bill in your house is doubling up, yeah, because you use a lot. And when you use a lot, so meaning that the emission is higher. So if you're looking at the intensity wise, then the intensity is higher. So now, so the perception of yes, we are, you know, there is a positive impact of pandemic is not right. If you are saying that, look, you know, the amount, absolute amount is reduced, but the intensity is high. Why? Now, if you are to talk about sustainability per se, you know, so we have these 3P that we need to handle. Basically, to address the what will be the first P? The first P, what will be the positive economic impact? And then second thing is what will be the what do you call it, impact on the environment, the planet. And the third one is what will be the impact on people. So you see, with this current situation currently, you know, we are basically still a long shot, I can say, for all the three. Definitely, if you look at the economy itself, you know, So there will be a lot of close down, unemployment, and so on. Okay, the economy is not doing good. Now, for the environment, to a certain extent, because of if you look from the intensity perspective, we are not doing good as well. And obviously, the third one, the people, people are suffering. Yeah, job loss, lost job, and the kind of thing. Income is reduced and that kind of thing. And worst case, people are going to hospital is higher. And if you look at, we have to look at the global angle perspective. Yeah, because we are international country where we do trade with other countries. So you just imagine what is happening in US now. The economy is terribly bad. What is happening in Europe, and if you link with this COVID status, we are not that really so-called affected. But if you listen to CNN, if you listen to BBC, you will know exactly real scary. So this is where that our industry need to understand, and we have to find a solution. Yeah. So just now we are sharing, Ramesh was to share some kind of solution, that we can do. But I think we have to be more proactive in the sense that, we already have a property. So what can we do with that property? Because or else, your rental will be out, your forecast revenue will be out, and even to a certain extent, if you were to plan to build a new development, what are the considerations to be made? Yeah, as I said earlier, that you do not know when is the dotted line, when this pandemic going to finish. May not, to a certain extent, may not, you do not know. Okay, so if that is happen, the real estate, definitely people, developers, sub-developers, or master developers, contractors, consultants, everybody will be affected. So we need to get a new approach, what I call as sustainable excellent approach, where you identify your green program, you identify how to reduce carbon, but at the same time, you must earn some money from that. You must earn some economic impact from that. Okay, thank you very much for myself.
Okay, a new question just came in. So he says that, RS says that LCCF applies to local authorities, city planning and development. Can it apply to developers, township development?
No issue, can apply.
Is it mandatory?
No mandatory.
Okay.
We need to understand this. In our country, we don't have this as a mandatory. Even to a certain extent, our pillar, our commitment to UN is also on voluntary. Okay, so my advice to everybody is look from the perspective of what I'm saying just now. Okay, reduce carbon, but at the same time you make money. So you build something that there is a demand to it. Now it's very much looking at, as I said, as I shared just now, that people are looking at spaces where they are hygienic, people at spaces that you don't have any problem with this convict, but at the same time you still can rent your place, you still can build your Soho, small office, home office, that kind of thing. So yes, short, no mandatory, but take different approach, because in Japan, all these green programs, sustainability and so on are private driven. Government only facilitate. So they know how to turn around, from the problem into a solutions, and they survive from that. Okay? Thank you.
Maybe I can touch on what earlier question on how about earthwork, road and drain. So see, there were very little on road and drain on LCCF. It talks about like sustainable site planning. They also talk about urban stormwater. And you look into the whole LCCF itself, they said the local authorities should come up with a certain plan, like flood mitigation plan, few other things. So when the LCCF was formed, because it's a city level, right? So it was related to authority. So when the authority have that kind of a master plan into their development, into their city, then they will be recognized. And wherever there is can be so-called carbonized, I can change it into a carbon emission as used in the carbon calculator. So this is how it's done. So if you're looking into a LCCF, want to go for LCCF, look into the plan, and do you have an iSummit? You have to talk to the local council that's doing it. Right? Next question is somebody is asking this: is it apply to authority? Can it apply to developers? Yes, because that's why the government has said One is authority, the other one, remember I said about a green zone and working together. That means if you have that kind of a development, you have that kind of a size, and where there's few parameters under the LCCF, remember the urban transport, urban environment and all that, you are managing it, you can apply. So there's no fast rule. Remember I said earlier, there's no fast rule. They didn't say, 1 to 3.5 acres and all this thing. But if you have that kind of thing under your purview and managing it, then you can go and ask for that LCCF itself. Right? You can apply, right? Say, I'm coming and can I be assessed? Possible. That's the question. You say, how does LCCF works? Registration, procedure, etc., and all this kind of a thing, right?
Okay. Who would like to take it up first?
Well, okay. Well, basically, you can follow the same thing because LCCF is under IGTC, you know. So you can log in into their website and then just apply, no issue.
I think they'll be happy. They'll be happy because they can hit their certain of the master plan, the KPIs and all that. Hey, we have more cities, more green zones. They'll happy. They will come forward.
Okay.
Not only that, when you carbonize it and do a carbon calculator, they can say, "Oh, we have saved, more carbons." They'll be happy. The whole idea, the whole issue is not many are reporting it, right? Even for that building also not reporting it. That's why the government keep on asking, please do report, right? And if you are in a big company and part of the requirement in Bursa, you must report all this thing, part of your sustainability reporting. Government agency is working towards acquiring the report from all of us. So they can see whether what the amount of carbon emission reduction that taking place in this country versus the baseline, of course.
So, like for certain local authorities they're trying to achieve their LCCF goals, for example, DBKL, they've required the government buildings to submit their energy bills and their calculations and all that. Do you think that if they would start implementing it for public listed companies?
In fact, they already have a ask last time.
Yeah.
Through that NRE started asking every building to report.
Yes, but I think it's
really this summit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're required for your what do you call it, renewal. Yeah. Not many companies actually go for renewal, so that's an issue that we're facing right now.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, if I can add, basically, we need to move away from the mandatory requirements because you see, we have a lot of I can say, if you were to compare us and Singapore and Japan and Europe and that kind of thing, so there is a lot of differences between us. Number one is we don't have X. Number one is not mandatory, and number two is awareness among the people, and number three, obviously, the socio economy is different, totally different. So we don't have enough purchasing power. We don't have that. And if you were to compare against, obviously, the environmental concern and the kind of thing. But I am looking and from the angle where all these plans, it can happen, it can achieve the target if, number one, you must communicate with the emitter itself. You have to communicate with all the stakeholders. You have to convince the developer. When you build this kind of houses, you are on a green building, you can sell your house. And you have to convince the buyer if you are looking at house which is, more environmental friendly, reduce what you call it, hazard, less VOC, you need to buy a green building. So this is angle which I think are more sustainable if we were to compare, like, everything will come with enforcement. Okay, so this is, you have to give value to whatever green effort that you do. Okay, so this is well, I personally, I'm championing this. I'm championing that, number one, going green have to go to the ground, and not just on policy. It's not just by regulations. You have to give the value to your green action. Okay, it gives you good life. It gives you a better health. It gives you return in the economy. Okay, so I think this is a way forward that we need to have the approach, for the entire country. Thank you.
I think for developers, I think it's one of the first questions received. Everyone's waiting for a tax break or an incentive from the government before they do anything. So I think that's where we're stuck at the moment. Even with green certification, everyone wants something in return, but I don't think they see what you're trying to express, that it's beyond monetary, it's beyond just policy.
So again, if you are talking about sustainability, if you are talking about real sustainability impact, real sustainability approach and understanding, we have to go this way. We have to go this way. How long that you've been subsidized, or to a certain extent, if you come for incentive, it's basically subsidized. So you can't compete with any other people. Okay, yes, you get a subsidy in this country. What happens if you are doing something in other country? So you are talking about business as a whole. The border is the whole world is a border. So if our people having that kind of mentality, we only can start within this country. Okay, you are not be able to do the development in US. You are not be able to do development in Europe or in any other country, because your mindset is very much of, yes, I only can move if I've been given some tax break, only be given some tax discount, that kind of thing. So this is my approach. This is what I'm trying to share with everybody, that to make sure that we are on real sustainability platform. Yes, we will have understand that this is something that for a startup, we are new. We are talking about our master plan. We are talking about policy. It's only 10 years old. Our green policy is only 10 years old. Our PM, Green Technology Master Plan, is just in 2017. It's only 3 years old. So understand that we need some help. But if you are talking about sustainability, that help has to be short. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Ramesh, as a developer, would you like to add something from?
Rather than developer, most of the time we look at the return of investment, right? Don't purely see into, when I invest into green technology, for example, I have a more green building, what is my investment? And if you are developing and we are using it, we realize there is a benefit coming in, saving in sense of energy. So saving in energy equivalent to saving in emission, saving money, because I told earlier, please looking at the master plan, we are looking into increasing the tariff. That's basically you're saving money itself, right? And we're not only talking about energy, right? We're also talking about better waste management. That also translate about the waste disposal. X672, I already told you they wanted us to separate, and imagine the rate of disposal cost is going to increase, and you're going to pay more money. So it's best that I solve it on site, all this issue. I save money. So look into a bigger picture as holistic, right? Yes, it will be something great to have all this so-called, some incentive coming in from government, all right? Developers also start, okay, if I do IBS, can I get some incentive? There were, but not so clear. Not many of us. We are doing all high-hand development and all that. We don't even get any incentive for IBS. And at IBS level, at this point in time, most of us feel is it of course increase some certain capital investment higher. But then incentive is not there. But when you look into construction methodology, can I do it faster? Can I do it better with lesser issue? There is some saving, because basically it will translate to my better finishing. Yes, then I'm benefiting out of it. So let's look into a bigger picture on a sustainability or green building, or even you have a green cities. We contribute back to the global reduction of a global warming. Do we benefit? Yes. You save your energy bill, you save your water bill, you save your waste bill, right? It's money. So start looking from that angle, and maybe we realize there are some benefit even for us when we look into GreenRE, right? The way that we look at a certain level, that how can you save money, right? Look into the budget that you're spending and a return of investment when you're doing such a development. That should be the way. That is the 3 pillars of sustainability is always about that: environment, economy, and social, right? So don't forget that economy. We need to, the bottom line always is so important, right?
Okay. We don't have any questions, and if that's it from the audience, maybe just a closing statement from Encik Ismail and Mr. Ramesh.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, GreenRE. Good effort. I think we need to go more, because because of, I think the biggest problem in Malaysia is we have a huge gap, knowledge gap, yeah, because I think one of the things is between the policy and the people on the ground. So there's a gap, and then between the what do you call it, the program that you are doing it with, and also in outside the country, there is a gap also. So you do, I mean, our people do not know what is happening in Singapore, what is happening in Thailand, and where that, they are moving way ahead than us. Okay, and to a certain extent, later on, maybe I can share with all of you. In short, in general, every of us in ASEAN starting on the same time. But if you look at them now, what is happening? Okay, so this is something that we can learn from them, seriously. So we need to have this kind of webinar more, okay, especially with all our stakeholders, with all the people on the ground, to make sure that these people really understand the concept, the principle, the fundamental, of why we need to go green, why we have to reduce carbon, why, there's so many question marks that we need. Hopefully, REDA, GreenRE can play the role, because I think huge gap, in the country. There's a huge gap. If we can close that gap, I think we can live better. Business people can be happy because you build a house, you can sell your house. The buyer is happy because they can they can live longer because their building, their office, their house, no VOC. It's a green building. Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Ramesh?
My last slide, I said, we are the problem, we are the solution. Right? And what we shared today, what do you mean we are the problem? All that problem that coming in from our development that we are contributing to this global warming, and the so-called the solutions that we have from many of these things that we take from. It can be a framework. All these solutions, the reference given is for us to provide a solution. So we are the problem. We can provide the solution. Reason is we want to live a better. Okay, let's live a better for all of us to live in our next generation. So thank you. Thank you for having us. And our apologies if anything lacking. Thank you.
Thank you to both our speakers. We really appreciate your time and effort.